Hey everybody, welcome back to Fire TV, another edition of the Shred Chat. And today I have with me the legendary Michelangelo Badio. Michael, thank you, man.
Hey Gus.
Well, we are actually on tour together at the moment. We are backstage in a venue in Belgium, and it was a great opportunity to sit down with Michael and talk about a lot of stuff. Give you some insights about this tour, talk about guitars, talk about our influences, talk about our background, how we know each other. Thank you for doing this, Mike.
Cool.
So yeah, how you been, man?
Good. Yeah, we've been on tour now since like the 18th of April, so it's been a while already.
Yeah, like this is like a third week on tour and we still got about 10 more days.
Yeah.
I mean, we're part of this tour called Electric Guitar Lands, which is kind of like a synergy, if I may call it, of guitar players. It's Michael and myself and Rowan Robertson from Dio's band, and Andy Martongelli, a very talented Italian guitar player. And yeah, we're cruising through Europe, playing a lot of kick-ass shows. It's been a lot of fun so far, actually.
Yeah, the crowds have been great. Yeah. And I have to say, you know, we both toured a lot. This has really been fun so far. I mean, some of the people wouldn't believe the stuff we talk about backstage. You know, it's not always guitars, but we just have a good time. And you know, it's 4 different styles, and then then we all get together at the end and jam. But it's really great. You know, having a great time. Yeah,
everybody does like their own separate sets. We have a mutual backing band, amazing players. The rhythm section, the guys are incredible. So everybody goes out there, we do our own set, and in the end, we all get together. So yeah, man. I mean, and you wrote. I'm not. Correct me if I'm wrong. Did you write a new double guitar solo for this tour or something like that?
Yeah, I've always used pointy guitars, and I'm with a company called Sawtooth Guitars.
Right.
I've been with them about 3 years now. So we designed a more normal one. It's 2 Telecasters of death, and I'm only using it for this tour.
Yeah, I like the sunburst color that the Tele has.
It's cool.
I like it. My first electric guitar was a sunburst, and I don't know. I always had a soft spot for the.
I know. I like it too, and but I'm more of a pointy guitar person.
I know,
and especially with the doubles. But yeah, it's a new double guitar solo, and like you said, it's played with the band. The 2 guys that are playing with all the guitar players are really good. So, and the set changes real quick. But I enjoyed playing this double guitar, and I came up with the idea for it's for an encore. It's not something. I based my entire career, but it is my trademark, And
it is what kind of got you. I mean, of course, you're famous for a lot of things, for innovating the string dampeners.
Yeah.
You're very famous for your teaching methods. The star licks, the very famous line you once said, "I will give you the keys to the Lamborghini."
That's right.
And you taught all of us all those how to play insanely fast. So thank you for that. And of course, then we have the double guitar, which is also part of your trademark of who you are.
Yeah.
And I have to say this here on camera, and because I'm from Greece, obviously. So growing up in the '90s in Greece, I remember watching TV one night on some local TV channel. This movie comes up and it's about this guitar player. It was like after midnight, like I stayed up late, my parents were sleeping downstairs. I'm like, I'm gonna watch TV. So this movie comes up, starts with this Hendrix song, and it's about this geeky guitar player who eventually sells his soul to the devil and wakes up the next day mysteriously. He can shred like nobody else, man. And I'm looking at this part. There's a part in the movie where the transition of selling his soul to the devil, and there's a dude there. The devil is a dude with a double neck guitar, and it's playing exactly like Michelangelo. And I'm looking at this, and I'm like, is this Michael?
Yeah. It was. Yeah.
And that movie was Shock 'Em Dead.
Shock 'Em Dead. Yeah. The way that came about is the instructional video I did. The company was owned by a very wealthy guy. He owned the International House of Pancakes chain. And so they wanted to venture in the movie. So they had me, they actually wanted me to play the lead role I've never acted in my life. I did what's called a reading, where you read. I thought you read the script, you act. And it was a scene under the jacuzzi where I'm now this rock star. I've been possessed by the
guy
devil.
Angel, right?
Yeah, Angel Martin.
Yeah.
And so I'm supposed to seduce this girl and kill her. I have to kill people to survive.
Right.
And I'm thinking, she's hot. Why should I kill her? But I'm reading this like, I know you want me.
No.
I was so bad at the reading, but they said, don't worry, we weren't sure if you could act.
Don't worry, we'll call you, but for something else.
You're beautiful. You're beautiful. But then they had the idea of me playing the devil. So
Right.
yeah, and they already had that as the backup. So
That is a cooler part.
it was fun. Yeah.
That was the most badass scene in the movie.
Thanks. Yeah, we had a good time filming it. It was great.
Yeah, man. So what that was like when? That was like early 90s when you
Yeah,
did that?
yeah. In fact, it was exactly 1990. You know, it's kind of cool at that time, like in what was going on in my world. We had Nitro, my band, not my
Nitro,
band, but
yeah.
mine and Jim's band Nitro. Our album was on the charts, Billboard charts. Our videos on MTV were, our first one, we're going around the country with a film crew filming another video,
Right.
and then I fly to Hollywood to film a movie.
Wow.
Yeah, because it was like a 3-day shoot. I'm like, man, if
Crazy
this
times.
isn't the dream.
This is a dream.
And I had no money, but other than that, it was great. It was wonderful.
That also sounds about right.
Yeah.
So many people we've heard these stories that they were on top of the world, but they were they were broke.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, but when I think back, I mean, all this stuff's going on at the same time. We're on a tour, we're selling out
Yeah.
shows, and it was just everything was happening, and it was really fun. And that movie still lives on.
Yeah, man. That movie is a cult classic.
Yeah, it's
Like,
kind of cool.
But you also had I think because the conversations we've been having on the trip so far is like one thing that I really admire about you and I feel close and I always listen when you talk is about your entrepreneur skills. You always had a thing for the music business.
Yeah.
You realized what was going on early on, and you always found ways how to make a really good living as a guitar player, and that kind of like led you to do unique things and kind of like be one step ahead of the time, like being one of the first clinicians, I
That's
guess.
right. Yeah.
Designing guitars, innovating things for the guitars. So you want to share some more things about that?
Yeah, when I was a kid, I got into it accidentally. I started teaching guitar to kids around my block. I was 13.
Yeah.
And they were paying me to do this. I'm like, hey. And then when I was in high school, I went to a local music store, and I'm still friends. The store's still there today. It's where I taught Tom Morello from Rage Against the Machine. And it's in a really wealthy area of Illinois, which we did not live in. But I realized that you could make really good money just teaching. I was making way more money than all my friends working at fast food places.
Yeah.
And I was doing something I like, but I always thought about, it was hard for me to call it, it's the, like when you say play gigs and things, I always thought of it, this is the music business, it's not the game. And, even in Nitro, Jim Gillette was, he's been very wealthy in real estate. We started, after we were so broke, I just started thinking, this major label thing, unless you're the biggest band in the world,
Right.
you're not going to make money at
Right.
this. There's only a few at the top. So I had an opportunity to do clinics, and what I started to realize is there were so many stores back then. There were so many of them.
Right.
And Guitar Center wasn't as big. There were a lot of, there were chains of stores where these people would own 5 and 6 different stores. I'd play all of them.
Right.
And they were and then all over the world there were, you could go to the London Music Show, you could go to Newcastle, you could go into Pesaro, Italy. So
And one thing also I wanted to say is that you also tapped into markets before even the rest of the world,
That's right.
got wind of it. Like you were in Asia, you were touring in China, Indonesia,
Yeah.
like all these countries.
Yeah.
Early on, places where not even many bands, not clinics, not even bands could go there and do concerts.
Yeah, because the biggest thing was a band has to go there, they have to get a promoter, they have to be in a city big enough to be able to draw enough people. I didn't, that was gone from the equation. We had a music store out there, a distributor,
Yeah.
and a multi-million-dollar music company paying me whether one person showed up or 8,000. It just didn't matter.
Yeah.
And it was the way I was used to doing business. It never entered my mind that, wait a second, we signed a contract, and if there's not enough people there, they don't pay you? What's going on here? That's not the way it works. And so I got back to something that I took control of my own career again.
Yes.
And
I'm glad you talk about these things openly for everybody, because a lot of guitar players are watching on YouTube and your channel and my channel and things like that. And there's such a misconception about all these things because music business, they say it's two separate things. It's the music, which is the passion, and the business. And there's a lot of misconceptions about it. People and young players have they think it's something else when they get into it, they found out the hard way, basically.
Yeah.
So I'm glad that a guy like you is talking about these things now and basically sharing all this things.
Well, thanks. And the thing is too, it's change. It's constant change.
It's changing a lot. Yeah.
One of the things that, because I've used this word before, we talked about it, relevant. Mm-hmm. If you do things today that you did 5 years ago, it might not work for you.
You're right.
The things, it's like having a phone that's 20 years old, with an antenna of 3 meters. Hello. I can't get online. What's going on?
Exactly.
And so it's just you adapt but if one thing that I've always done is, and I realized this very early on, one, you just align yourself with good people, and people that have your best interest. But the other thing is just see this I took control of my own career, because I thought, if I'm gonna succeed or fail, if I don't do something right, because failure to me isn't an option. You can always okay, if something doesn't work, then you just figure out how to make something work from that. But I thought, when I got on my own and I started doing clinics and I started realizing this is serious business now. You're right, I got in on it. I had years before anybody figured this out.
Yeah, man, absolutely.
And I quietly went and bought my house and filmed, I did my first solo album, No Boundaries, and nobody told me what to do.
That too. You independently released your albums when the thing to do back then was to get a record deal.
Right.
But you owned your masters, which is very important, like if you're composing and writing songs, guys out there, if you're in bands and stuff, owning your masters, owning your own recordings is the most valuable thing, in my opinion, and I think Michael will agree with this.
And but I thought, one of the things, I have a saying, you can't think outside the box unless you know what's in the box. Now, granted, people can think outside, but I was in the box. 2 major label deals, 2 on Warner Brothers. I saw what the machine was like when it worked with Nitro, and I saw what it didn't work with the band before Nitro. And I realized both times I still had no money. and so, but I learned how to deal within the business. So when I got on my own, for the first time in my life, I could record music exactly the way I wanted. Now, it didn't come out perfect, but it's the most, No Boundaries, my first album, is the most, there's not much I'd want to redo on that. You can hear, I did more sweeps then, because I was more, not in style, but in my style. But I listened back and I'm going, I like everything on that album.
Because it was pure artistic freedom for you.
That's right.
So you did it without you were not bound to any contract to anybody. You didn't have to follow any rules or format. You didn't want to fit in any format.
That's right. That's right.
So it was a different mindset, basically.
Yeah, and it was freedom.
Yeah.
Because that's what it was, and taking control. And then I started my own music company, so we were selling CDs. And the key to it is I toured. See, I didn't tour like a regular band. I didn't even need to draw these massive audiences like some of these bands. I could draw enough to make an entire career, make more money than I ever made in my life by finding my audience and then merch every single clinic.
Yeah.
I mean, it was a business. And we have big companies. That was the key, big companies behind me. But now, look, you do a lot of things. You did it in a way too, like you get in with the huge iconic artist.
Yeah.
It gives you the name, and you've got the freedom to do what you want with your.
I definitely started thinking a lot more like that, especially, you know, after my days with Ozzy. You know, I think we talked about it one of the van rides on this tour, that, you know, I also started thinking about how can I monetize the audience that I already have, or what I'm building upon, or what I've built upon the past 10, 15 years. And yeah, like you said, you don't have to be the biggest band, you don't have to be the biggest artist in the world. You know, you just have to figure out how to monetize your brand, basically, and your work, and
reach the people that like you.
Yeah, people that are
audience.
interested in what you do, and people that want to follow you. Yeah.
Yeah.
So and like you said, you mentioned a very important thing right before. You said, you know, we talked about the word relevance. Like, you have to kind of get on with the times. You are also a guy. You've been how many decades in this business, man? Like,
since the 80s.
two plus two.
Yeah. But I've been in it for over 30 years.
There you go. So, like, what I admire about you is, like, you get on with the times. Like, you don't sit there and go like, well, when I was in my time, we used to sell
back in the old days.
Yeah, cassettes, and you know, like,
wow, they were great.
They don't make them like they used to.
Yeah.
Right.
The days when cell phones were 1 meter long and the antenna was 8 meters. Yeah, I've got one in my office, my dad's old phone. It's just freaking big with an antenna that stretches to the next house. Back in the old days, it was wonderful.
But yeah, man, I like it that you do these, like, you live stream religiously every week.
Yeah.
And I see that, and, like, you know, whereas a lot of people are scared to do it nowadays, you know, still,
Yeah.
and, like, I mean, live streaming is such a big part of how you reach people, or how you get your message across, you know,
Yeah.
using social media to use the maximum of that social, because we have to look at them as tools, you know, nothing to be afraid of. Of course, there's good and bad things of social media, but you know, in our case, we use them as tools to reach more people and promote our music and our work.
Yeah, and you know, I think the biggest thing, at least for me, is I have to believe in what I'm doing. If I don't, because that's a thing that I learned a long time ago. When my gut feeling isn't right about something, or I don't have my heart in it,
Yeah.
I can't. It doesn't do well. Even if a project's good, but if I really believe in it, then I can sell it. And I don't mean like a salesman, but if I believe in it, I can tell people, look, get this, check this out, and you know, it's.
How can you promote a guitar if it's not something you want to pick up when you go on stage with?
Right.
It's there's no point, right?
No,
Like,
exactly. And you know, but it's with music, like I see a lot now, like there's a lot of great young internet influencers. That's a hard job to do, because you're constantly producing content. But I've also seen some burnout with some of these really great influencers, and then they want to be more on the music side, which is what you and I are doing. That isn't so easy.
Yeah.
Okay, because there's a burnout here. We're on the 10th show of, like, there's going to be
in
like,
a row.
Yeah. And we're close to like 20 shows in a row.
Yeah.
And then, you know, Gus has got a lot of stuff going on. I've got things going on. But to be out there playing in front of an audience, connecting, where you're not sitting in front of a computer screen, you're not having the perfect production, sitting in the perfect stance, it's way, way different. And that's a whole other side of it.
Of course.
So it's something younger people don't have as much experience.
You're right. Yeah. They have maybe more experience about doing well-produced videos and things like that. But maybe like a guy like you or me, we won't put as much effort or budget in. But then they don't really have the experience of touring or playing live. There's something magical about that I think will never go away. Personally, you know.
Yeah. Well, you know, I work with a couple really big internet influencers, and one of the things that was so different we talked about, it was Rob Scallon as one.
Right.
He is a great musician.
But
his career doesn't think in terms of shows or creating music. He's really good on guitar. It's creating content.
Right.
It's a whole different mindset.
Yeah.
And it's a mindset I like, but it's not for me. You know, that's another thing. I release a lot of videos. You release a lot of things. You have a new video out. But it's not everything that we do.
Right.
You know? And so you just have to figure out what do you do, and then go for it.
Yeah. And the final thing I wanted to talk about with you is your recent your recent, what should I say, the recent big thing that came into your life the last couple of years is you joined an iconic band, Manowar, and you just completed a massive tour in Europe, playing arenas everywhere. And tell me a little bit more about it, because growing up in Greece, Manowar is one of the biggest bands. It's almost like, you know, they have like fans that are following them, like it's like almost like religion, you know. It's like one of those bands in certain parts of Europe and the world. Manowar it's incredibly important. And yeah, I mean, I'm very excited. I was very excited when I found out the news that Michelangelo Betti is joining Manowar. And yeah, anyways, tell me.
I met Joey back in, you know, the bass player, the main guy, Joey DeMaio. I met him in the 80s, the late 80s when Nitro came out. Nitro was more of a 90s band.
Right.
We came out at the very tail end of 89. So anyway, he was in Chicago and we met briefly and we liked each other. And you know, Nitro in many ways, the thing that I loved about Joey and Manowar is they take a position. Like they take a stand, you know, and Nitro was the same way, different type band. But over the years, you know, Joey and I didn't keep in contact, so to speak, but, you know, we always had a good relationship. And then a couple of years ago, we just started recording. We recorded the song Immortal. And the thing about Manowar, you know, when he talks about true metal, he is, you know, we talk about the battles, going through, dealing with major labels, dealing with getting screwed over, dealing with adversity. And so we had that in common, and I love being in the band. I mean,
no, Joey's a real deal, as so are you. So I'm sure that, you know, you guys,
you know, it just all worked. It wasn't something like we planned, and it wasn't something, you know, I just got hired to play some stuff because their guitar player, he had to take a hiatus from the band for a while, and the villain guy, Evie, and so I came in to record, but I love playing those songs, you know, and
they got great songs, man. Classic metal tunes. Made to be played in arenas, you know. And I'm a big fan of a lot of their early work when I was growing up. You know, albums like Into Glory Ride, Hail to England, stuff like that. It's part of my metal vocabulary as well. So yeah, I'm excited for one of my favorite guitar players joining a band that I really loved growing up. So
thanks. Well, you know, the interesting thing, and you can relate to this playing with Ozzy, I didn't really get a manual to join Manowar, you know, because you know, this is the first time they brought like a named guitar player in. So Joey didn't say like, well, do this, do this, do this. He had ideas about the rhythms, but he didn't really say play the solos exactly. Pick out some parts you like. But as I've gone along, I've realized these solos to some of these to these bands are super, super important. Which I didn't realize at first, because for me, it's like play it righty, play it lefty, okay. Let's just rip. You know, it's a solo. Let's play fast. You know, so it's like for me, it's like, oh, solo time. Yes. And but I've realized, you know, in respect to the music, because I hear the solos a different way. Of
course.
But, you know, now that I've kind of latched onto it, it's you know, that's one of the fun challenges for me too. It's just to play these like the original, you know, add my own thing, of course, but I'm having a good time doing it. I think it's
so amazing. You're kind of like thinking of, you know, you're trying to stick as much as you can close to the originals in a way, right?
Especially the really iconic songs. You know, there's fast passages in them where I get a little leeway, but like a song like Battle Hymn, it's got to be played the exact solo. You know, and I wasn't doing it at first, and then I'm thinking, you know, I didn't need a rocket scientist to tell me. You know, I realized I've got to really dial this in. You know, and I've only toured, you know, this is the first tour with them. So.
What do you got coming up with Manowar?
Yeah, a lot. We're going to be playing in Istanbul, and then we've got South America, Central America, and there's a lot more shows coming up. Yeah, the demand is really high.
Well, if you guys come to Greece, I'll definitely be at that show.
Oh, cool. Yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah, I want to see you with Manowar. Yeah, man. Well, Michael, thanks so much, my man. Thank you for doing this here for our YouTube friends. It's a pleasure and an honor being on tour with you. Finally, we've known each other for a number of years, but we never got to actually play together and travel together. So,
we got to hang at the Monsters of Rock. Remember that?
We did the cruise together, but never been like on a tour together. Yeah. And so thanks again. It's an honor being on tour with you, doing these shows with you. I love hanging out with you. We've had tons of laughs with Rowan and Andy as well. It's been a great company of people.
Yeah, and we still have more shows.
We got more
go.
stuff to do, yeah. And thank you all for watching this. And all the best for the future with Manowar and everything else you're doing.
Thanks.
All right,
Okay.
take it easy, guys. Thank you.